I have a copy of that petition, and I could read it to answer Councilmember McKeithen's query as to what did they have in mind, does the residents have in mind when they were requesting a master plan study. And it was to look at all of the public lands that we have at our disposal, which are limited. I think we have the park, and I think we have this here. I don't think there's any other town-owned property that we could put any. Oh, streets. We have our streets. Well, we are very proud of our streets, Teresa, that they're rural in nature. We don't want to destroy that rural character. And we have the need for a new library. We have funds to build a new library. We have a need for a new police department, a new town administration facility, building department. We need to get the building and planning and public works out of decaying trailers. And so how can we match all those needs with the property that we have in the best way possible? I supported that idea months and months ago. I still support it. I think it's something that we really need to do. It's a prudent thing. It's good business to do that, to do a master plan before you start projects here and there. So I am in full support of that.
Any other public comments, council comments before we take public comments?
I think one of the areas that would benefit with the master plan is the those areas in our public buildings that are for general community use, and making sure that we have enough space for that sort of thing, but not a lot of extra money being spent on needed space. And in my mind, this becomes a much more germane idea to proceed in this fashion again after the election. If the library goes in the park, but there may still be a need, or we still should try and rationalize, okay, if the library is going to provide some community service space, what does that mean for, will that take care of all of it, so that other facilities we plan won't require anything, or do we need to rationalize that whole thing? So some sort of planning will have to take place regardless after the election.
Why don't we take public comment?
Roser, 23 Wilburn Avenue. There aren't many buildings in this town. I haven't been in each of them, but it doesn't look like there's that many. So I don't think the issue is the difficulty of how many buildings. It's just when we try to move one, when it's unexpected to the residents. And I think the decisions are backwards. Okay? I think if you had a master plan for the buildings in some time period, maybe the time period is when money is available, to refurbish or rebuild, including the library. And then you go and say you're going to do a building, and everybody knows where it is because it's in the plan. You won't have the amount of time that people have spent on this library issue. And I think that the master plan will save the town and the town council members lots of time in terms of future decisions about buildings in this town. Thank you.
Public comments? Additional public comments? Charles?
Charles from Solid Emily. I'll go back maybe a decade, maybe longer. There used to be a facilities committee for the council. And for now, a while, Dee Dee Fisher and Alan Carlson were on that, and I was on it with Alan after Dee Dee left. In 2008, we were going to tackle this item, and it was, we busted up the facilities committee and formed the Blue Ribbon Task Force with everything except the library as part of its jurisdiction. And looking back, I think had we left that in place, we may have been addressing this issue at that time. it may be time to bring back the facilities committee so that that would be under the jurisdiction of this project and come back under the facilities committee, because you need someone that's watching out over the facilities and coordinating all the facilities in the town, as opposed to having it piecemeal, which is what we've done. We've separated the town center and library issue, and that they work together. And in line with that, and obviously working closer with the JPA and what their situation is and what thing we can and can't do because of the JPA requirements will be important. And then I'll just bring that back. Why not just go back to the way it was and look at and research some of the things that were happening back in the early part of the century when the facilities committee was in charge of all the facilities in town and could put together a master plan.
Charles, I don't want to go all the way back to the last century necessarily.
But we can just look at the mandate of the mission statement of the facilities committee.
2001, okay.
Yeah, he wasn't
Sorry.
going back.
No.
I was going back 100 years.
No, I'm just going back this century.
Okay. Oh, no, she's not.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out.
And neither is Charles.
Please.
I absolutely love what Menlo Park has done, and that is they have a center. I'm very concerned because my husband's been here, between the two of us, we've been here 100 years. And there's an aging community in Atherton, if you haven't noticed. And I really like Menlo Park, where everybody, there's baseball, there's this, there's that, there's things to do. There's bridge for the senior citizens, there's all that type of thing, because that would be nice to have our park kind of mimic Little House, and then have our area, you know, with the police department and the library, be together just like they have. And Redwood City also has a police department across from the library. But I love the fact that it's going to vote, that it makes it really clear, because I think, from what I'm getting, I think it's a huge discrepancy that the library people are worried about the town center grabbing the library money, and the town center saying we're not going to do that. And it's like, stop already. Okay, so when it goes to vote, it makes it clear. Town center, raise the money, build the town center, let's make sure it's right. Just like Menlo Park, with a pretty pond, you could take these streets right here, block them off to a pond in the center. Do what Menlo Park has, follow their lead. And then at their park, which is Little House, they have everything. They have something for everyone there. I even used to go there when I lived down the street all the time. And that's what I'd like to see in Atherton. I'd like to see all the seniors get together, all the kids play on the playground. Everybody working as one. If we took their footprint and redesigned it, and I am guilty of not stepping forward on a lot of these projects. So on this one, I actually would, because the time's kind of come that you put in your 2 cents, but you don't show up for all the meetings. So for that part, I'm sorry, and I am guilty for that, but I love what Menlo Park has. And one time I went to Menlo Park, because we also owned a home there, and when I stood up, they said, oh, we know who you are. I think that's because I'm loud and vocal. They actually said, we're not Atherton, we're community friendly. And that happened back about 15 years ago. So I would like to change that personally.
Thank you. Greg?
I think the town has got 2 decisions that are going to be made independent of the board. And, you know, the first one being the vote as to where the library is going to be. And the second one is the high-speed rail is going to finish their simulations by the end of next month. So you'll know pretty well how many tracks they're going to have and where they're going to be. And based on the meeting the rail committee had 2 weeks ago, I personally believe that the people that are doing the simulations are not comfortable with 3 tracks, because they got high-speed rail going in the same track in the opposite direction at the same time. So it's, you know, to me, it just defies logic that they would allow that to happen. So that and the EIR and the simulations, I think, will wind up with 4 tracks. And if they wind up with 4 tracks, there's a real question whether these buildings are usable, because you double the size of the right-of-way, you know, in 4 tracks. And so, but that'll be decided by the end of next month. It's not, even though the trains aren't going to run for decades, the decision-making will be done by the end of next month. So you'll know where the tracks are going to be, and you'll have the vote as to where the library is going to be, and then you can sit down intelligently and do your planning based on, one, are these buildings usable? And is the library going to be with them, or is it going to be separate?
or maybe all the buildings are gonna have to go to the park in order to avoid the tracks. So but there's two big issues there that we need to wait to see what happens, and they will happen this year. So it's not you don't push it off forever, as government normally does. So I would just suggest that, and I think there's some plans already. 2 architects drew some plans for the center that I thought one of them was very good. So I don't know what happened to those, but they were on the board here a few months ago, and I think they had some good prospects of how to do it without the library. So we'll see. I think you should wait and see those 2 decisions, and then you can go ahead and act after you know what those 2 decisions are.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
I'd like to make a comment.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Regarding the rail situation, we had a representative, this is to make a clarification, but I hope I have a comment. We did have a rail committee meeting, and we had a representative of Caltrain there. Caltrain Board of Directors has said that they will only approve a blended system that basically is 2 tracks with some passing tracks necessary. If the high-speed rail were to say, okay, we need to have 4 tracks, I think we'd see a very interesting situation where the Caltrain has to decide whether to change their policy, which would cause a lot of communities to be up in arms up and down the peninsula. And the representatives of the JPB are, to a large extent, elected officials. So, I don't take it as a given that there's going to be 4 tracks here along the peninsula.
Thank you for the clarification. Any other public comments regarding the master plan?
My name is Anne McNerney, and I think we need a master plan, and I agree with Mr. Roser that we sort of went about things backwards, and it would be nice to have an overall plan, and because I was worried about high-speed rail as well, even though it's good to know that Caltrans is only going to approve 2 tracks and some passing lanes. I was thinking that the town center plan, I saw a very attractive building in the proposed town centers that was put up too, that there might be room over where the police cars are, which is far enough from the back so that even if there was an unwanted expansion, but I'm certainly hoping that the expansion doesn't happen. I think another thing in the original high-speed rail proposal is that the towns that it goes through have to come up with 50% of the money for the destruction of their backyards. So I have a feeling that a big fight will come up against the high-speed rail once people get away from looking at all the money they might make. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, we'll close the public comments on a master plan. Bring it back to council. Sure.
Greg, what have you heard about the timetable for electrification and shoe fly tracks?
Well, the 3rd track is the shoe fly track they didn't discuss, but the 3rd track is the bypass, is the passing track that would run, one scenario would run right through Atherton. So they're thinking, even though it's a 2-track scenario, the 3rd track would be the passing track that would run from Hayward to, I believe, through Palo Alto. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, I think that's where it was.
Yeah, this is one of the options, and I think what I'm hearing anyway is that the staff doesn't think that that's a viable option of having a bi-directional use of the 3rd track. But until they come out with their final studies here in the next month or so, we won't know what the conclusions are on that.
And when is the time? Have they discussed any kind of timetable for building?
Yeah, the electrification wouldn't occur until 2019.
Be completed.
And of course, there'll be construction will be going on and so forth before then.
2029.
But I think the important thing here is that I think Caltrain is going to make a major attempt to really engage the cities in the process, the planning process. And one of the things that we have going for us is Caltrain's going to need some operation. They need to have some additional operating funds, and they hope to get this through a sales tax or get it through a tax type of thing.
Yeah, that'd be next.
And they're going to have to though convince the peninsula cities that this is indeed going to be a cooperative effort as to how they're going to approach this whole electrification process. So 2019 is the target date for electrification. 2029 is the current target date for high-speed trains to share 2 tracks going up and down the peninsula.
So Jerry, where is Caltrain hoping to get the electrification money from?
They're hoping to get it from Proposition 1A, about $700 million. There's also some other connection funds. This is the plan that helped pass the budget to fund high-speed rail. However, the state, the Department of Finance, and the governor could decide to take that $700 million and put it someplace else, like either Southern California or the Central Valley project, if they felt the Central Valley project didn't have enough funding to do what they're planning to do.
Well, if the High Speed Rail Authority did not support taking that money, do you think they could be overruled?
No, I don't think so, but what it might allow is it might open the door to something that we've been trying to get Caltrain to consider, and that's another form of I'll call it locomotion. Besides just electrifying the rail, there are some hybrid diesel type technology that's really brand new that has fundamentally most of the environmental benefits as electrification has. The cost of implementing that would be about half of the capital cost, and that's about what money Caltrain has access to now. And so they could probably implement something along those lines without having to resort to other funds.
Getting back to the master plan issue though.
Yeah, let's get on that.
Which is why I was asking my question. They're still talking about 2 shoe-fly tracks for building purposes, aren't they?
No.
They're not? No shoe-fly tracks?
There has been no, if it's a blended system, we've been told that they'll be using the current rails out here. If they don't need to have any kind of...
Can I listen to Jerry, please?
If they don't need to have any kind of passing tracks through here, and I think my personal opinion is that they look at the San Carlos area up there as being about the halfway mark, as being probably the better, well, being maybe the more ideal place to have a 4-track passing situation to handle the thing. But no, if they use a 2-track system, the chances of having disruption here through shoe flies, I think, is pretty small, as I see it right now.
Where are we on the petition that was being circulated from the congressman up in?
That petition has been withdrawn.
Okay. Let's try and talk about master plan.
Getting back to the master plan. So over 300 residents signed a petition, and the petition, I just thought I'd read it because Councilmember McKeithen asked what the residents were asking. In order to make a decision on the placement and timing of the new ATHERTON municipal buildings, we request that the town conduct a master plan study including the sizing and location of all of the town facilities, including administration, finance, building, public works, police, and library, before making any decisions to move the library to Holbrook Palmer Park. We, the undersigned, are concerned citizens who urge our council to study before they act. And many of these were dated in September and October, and I guess it was presented in November. So council chose not to listen to these and, made other decisions. But now here we
Elizabeth,
are.
what I think I'm asking is what the people here tonight are asking us to do and how they would like to proceed if we were to go ahead with the master plan.
The petitioners?
No,
Well,
I'm asking the people here tonight.
Well, yeah, but we've closed public comments now. So I think that we've discussed it several times about master plan. And I think that, excuse me, and I think that we should have a master plan. We've voted to put in the budget a park master plan. We had that sized. And the area here with the number of buildings, we've talked about what that plan should look like, but the plan should not supersede the voice of the people, which will be voiced on the 6th of November. And so, you know, it might be prudent for the council to consider asking staff to again come back with what the potential costs might be to do a master plan of this area, since we already have budget for doing a park master plan. All of the information, of course, would be subject to the voice of the people as it would be expressed on the 6th of November. So we're not going to negate, if a park, you know, somebody wants to do a master plan and say we're going to decide where we're going to be with regards to putting the library in the park, and if the vote comes back and says it's in the park, it's in the park in accordance with the EIR. So I don't see that you know, doing a master plan should change what we've agreed to here so far, nor should it negate the vote that's going to come up on November 6th. So my recommendation is that we ask the council sometime in the future, or the staff sometime in the future, to come back with some pertinent information on what it would cost to do a master plan for this area here, and a timetable for doing it, including input from the looking at what's happening with the rail, looking at the buildings we have, getting input from the people, and consider that moving forward, because I think we've talked about having a master plan several times.
So could you maybe clarify for me why you are just saying for this location here and not including the park?
Because we already have $35,000 or $30,000 to do a master plan. That's already in the budget that we should spend.
But why would we do this?
Yeah.
It's revised, and that's a landscape plan, right?
Well, it's a master plan, and it's being revised to include the buildings.
But that's a landscape plan.
That's more than that.
Yes, it is, and it's being revised by a professional, the Park and Rec.
Is it currently underway?
Yes, it has begun under the auspices of the past chair and the past committee representatives. They had a couple of meetings, and they started studying the revisions.
I think this is piecemeal. I think whoever authorized the work really.
We authorized the past budget.
Well.
It's in, yeah. It hasn't come to council, it hasn't even
No, it
come to
hasn't.
staff yet.
No, but it's in the budget.
So,
It's in the
We
budget.
approved 50,000 or some amount.
30,000.
but has the
$30,000.
work
Work has
started?
been done. No.
No work has been done. I misunderstood what you were saying, because you said, yes, the work has started.
They have started studying.
They.
The Park and Rec.
They
Park
talked
and
about
Rec.
They
it.
kicked it around.
Well,
I think
I'd like to go on
agree
record that
this
they
needs to be
should
done.
not spend any money doing a piecemeal master plan.
They haven't spent much.
Anyway, I think that,
May I say something?
sure, go ahead.
I think your idea is a good one. I think that staff could be very helpful here in trying to rationalize what we're doing in the park from a master planning standpoint, what we need to do with the rest of our area here in terms of things you said, cost and that type of thing. But I think it's important to try to get down to black and white what the scope will be. You know, then bring it back and we can talk about it. And it may be that we've allocated some funds already via the park that could be part of that overall budget.
Okay. So are we in agreement on that?
Yes.
I'm in agreement.
Okay. So we'd like a future council agenda, of course, input that would go into the master plan is going to have to take into consideration any election results of November 6th. So we asked Mike to look into that. Okay, thank you. So there's no other action items here, so can we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right.
Is there any public comment?
No, there's not. So thank everybody for coming.
Thank you.
I just wanted to bring up whoever threatened those children in Atherton was not acceptable.